So, I got a pretty big lesson for you here today. It's kind of like a bit of a serious lesson. That's why I'm being all serious and stuff. But, it's a good lesson. Um, so, anyhow, I was reading in the Bible quite a long time ago now. I don't know when that was, when I actually read this. The time that I'm thinking about, it might have been like 4 months ago or something, or even maybe even 6 months. I forget the timeline exactly. But what I do recall is that when you look at the coming of the children of Israel out of Egypt and going into the promised land, these people ended up traveling something like 40 years in the desert, right? In the wilderness, in the boondocks, in the nowhere, right? Basically, 40 years that they spent traveling in their journey to go from just outside of Egypt, where they had, first come out, to the promised land. Now, that was a journey that, even if you're walking on foot, right, guys, if you start out, like, if you make a beeline for that, uh, it's probably not gonna take you a year. It's probably not gonna take you 6 months. I don't know if it would actually ever even take you a month or 3 weeks. It's a distance that, if you were to literally set out on foot, right, within a matter of weeks or at the most a few months, based on my knowledge of the geography of the area and the distances and everything, uh, it's not that far where you would need like a year to get there. Like, it's not like walking from Cairo, Egypt, to like Harare, Zimbabwe, which is a pretty long distance, right? But even that you can do if you had to walk on foot. Probably well within a year you'd be able to get there. Like, you'd probably be able to, even if you're just walking on foot and you're not even running or anything, but probably way less than a year. Now, I might be wrong. It might take you 2 years, but let's give it worst case. Say it took you uh, a year or two, to go from Egypt to Zimbabwe. Now, going from Egypt to the land of Israel, the promised land, that should have taken these guys a really short amount of time. But what you find in the Bible is that they ended up spending 40 years going around in the wilderness. And so I think there's a really big lesson there, which is sometimes things are gonna take you a lot longer to get there because you keep not learning the lesson. And that's the lesson I wanted to share here. The business lesson I wanted to share is that you are not making millions and billions, uh, and you're not seeing the success you want to see, the level of success you want to see, because you keep ignoring the billionaires that are trying to share good business lessons with you. Now, I don't mean by any chance listen to every billionaire, right? Like, a lot of the billionaires out there are criminals. Let me just be straight. A lot of the billionaires out there are criminals. A lot of the millionaires out there are criminals, gang members, corrupt people, people cutting shady deals. Government corruption, private sector corruption. There's all kinds of shady things going on. So I'm not gonna say listen to every billionaire. In fact, you should probably not listen to most billionaires, right? You should probably ignore most billionaires just because they're the corrupt kind. They're doing all kinds of wicked and evil things that are just gonna destroy you. So completely plug up your ears and say, I ain't listening to billionaires. I ain't. Right? Um, but there's a few good billionaires out there that are legit self-made people that are trying to share a business game with you online, and in their books and things and interviews. And a lot of the time, we are completely ignoring that because we're too caught up maybe in the next video game, right? We are too caught up, in the next cat videos, right? We're too caught up sharing things on social media and liking things, and we're too caught up in getting to the football game. Now I'm guilty of that, all right? I do like my football game. If I can get a great game of football once in a while, and catch up with the league and things like that, that's one of my pastimes. So, but a lot of us are just way so caught up in this, and we pay attention to all that, but we ignore when the billionaires with the legit business lessons that could help us get to the next level are putting out books. Man, you got books, you got business books by some of the very best self-made legit billionaires that are not crooked up douchebags. uh, and some of these guys have literally put out their life's work in books, and you can just go get the book and read a whole bunch of lessons and literally download into your brain 50 years worth of billionaire business lessons that will help you level up to the next level. And all you're doing is you keep not learning the lesson because you never even bothered to open the book. So to go back to my opening story, which is not a story, it's a historical account. This is what happened. This is what the Bible tells us happened. This is what the Word of God tells us happened. So this is what happened. Is the children of Israel spent around 40 years wandering and moving through the wilderness. A distance, guys, that in their very first year they could have been there in the promised land. That should really concern you. That should really concern you. And part of it was that their own, as I said, the reason really was that they had a lot of unbelief, right? When you read later, I think in the books of like the Hebrews in the New Testament and thing, you hear that because of their unbelief, a lot of these people could not actually enter the promised land. So a lot of like the generation that actually came out of Egypt actually never actually entered into the promise. It was their kids and grandkids and people like that who actually managed to go in. So your own unbelief too is gonna be an obstacle. And in the game of business, because you're not learning the lessons, right? You keep refusing. You're like the cow that's been taken down to the river. You know what they say? You can take the cow down to the river, but you can't force the cow to drink to drink the water, right? Like that's the limit of your abilities. Like you can just take the cattle down to the river, but you can't make them drink. If they ain't wanna drink, you ain't making them drink, because that's just not how it works. You're not actually able to get these guys to drink. If they don't want to drink, you're out of luck. So that's the lesson that I had for you, is you gotta start paying attention. You gotta invest that time into learning from the people who have the lessons that will help you level up to the next level.